Alrighty then, Season 7 has officially started and it seems that the plants are here to stay. Riot had said that they removed them if people really had a problem with them, and initially there was, but with most things, people get bored and stop fighting for it, and even then some people start favoring them. For the most part, they're just sort of there and occasionally do things. They sometimes offer strategic worth, but even that can be questionable. They came out of the removal of the smite buffs, which, as most people refuse to acknowledge, were just as barren in the whole strategic department. Aside from the raptor buff, the jungle buffs had no real lasting impact other than the first clears. I do want to say that this was comically pointed out by a few people on Reddit, and most likely people who've been around for a lot longer than others, that Riot would adopt the ignore it strategy for the plants because people would just become complacent and bored and then just accept them as worthwhile. Like with most things, when there's an issue, you can just sort of brush it under the rug and then people would just kind of forget about it. In my opinion, the plants don't really add anything except a level of frustration and occasional tedium. I don't go out of my way to get them, I just sort of get them because they're there. The explosion plant is the only one I sometimes use strategically, but it rarely feels fair when I use it or my opponent does. As some have said, it's far more likely you'll just grab the plants to avoid your opponents from getting them. Like, I've had situations where I was at full health and I popped the honey fruit just because it was more convenient for me to destroy it rather than to sort of plan around it. I do have to say that the scrying plant is ridiculously strong in comparison to the others, that it sort of creates this strange disparity where it's the only plant you'll truly actively try to fight for. Now, they really aren't that much of a problem, except on those rare occasions where a blast plant denies you a gank or something. It's just kind of added fluff to the game and can sometimes make it convoluted. In short, they don't add very much, but also don't detract from the game. They're sort of just there. Again, it's not that some people may not find them fun, it's just that they don't have as much impact as something like this should. And yes, even though I said the scrying plant is something you might want to fight for, even if you lose it, it's kind of just like a oh well kind of thing. Unless you cluttered up a bunch of wards together for some reason. The other issue I have with the Season 7 starts so far is that jungle starts feel way too samey, which will only become more exacerbated when red starts get nerfed some more. Basically, I have felt I can't do much with early invasions, since the camps are too much of a time sink and leave you way too vulnerable. The lack of raptor buff also grounds you with too much risk, since you can't really make your way to the enemy jungle, and the plant can't really make up for that. Not only does it just kind of reveal you too, that they know you're around that plant. Also, certain camps are still super dangerous for certain champions that it's best to ignore them, but as a result you have less total pathing options. I mean, sure, with the heal on the smite, it makes clearing for a lot of champions a lot easier, but the fact that the respawns are so warped, considering you have to sort of jump around with certain champions because they can't handle the raptors or the krugs, it kind of makes things very convoluted. I mean, you can start off red even with the nerfs to it, but some junglers can't hope to do raptors right after, and krugs is a time sink and awkwardly forces you to backtrack. I've had more success starting blue side on junglers unless I was trying to exploit the early level red side ganks. I fully understand that the low level ganks and experience are an issue, but I feel it could have been tackled better. Perhaps making it so raptors spawn more raptors over time, thus making their first clear far easier. In the past, your clearing tended to start and end close to where you wanted to gank or invade. Now for certain junglers, it's just starting where you will least get thrashed and hopefully you can make something work out. Either way, all of this is pretty minor. Despite these grievances, they're actually not that big and I can, and hopefully others, deal with them. So far, I've seen far more junglers be able to function than in the last 2 seasons, although there are still some outliers who aren't faring so well like Fiddlesticks, but hopefully Riot will get to work on that. I confess that in Season 5 and Season 6, I had so much less fun with League than I ever had, and it was due to all the drudgery. Having some grossly dominant junglers killed it for me, but for the first time in a long time do I actually look forward to the newest season. Here's hoping it doesn't disappoint. Also, I know this is a video with minor substance and it is pretty short, so I'll be using this to also mention that I plan on stabilizing the channel and returning to streaming soon enough. I actually have the urge to play far more vigorously again and hopefully can get into that groove of steady uploads and occasional streaming. Let me know how you fared so far in the pre-season in the comments below and how you're doing in the first day of Season 7 thus far if you bothered to play already. Do you plan on going purely flex queue or solo queue? What do you think of all the changes and plans by Riot? I'm genuinely curious right now about the state of League and its players and hoping for the best. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet. I've also made a Patreon now, and if you wish to support me through that medium, then I welcome it.